Happy Saturday morning, and it's another edition of Saturday Morning Stories. Why do we read books from written by African American or authors of color and illustrators? Because it reminds us of our precious childhood. Go back to what used to make you happy. And this week's book is Pretty Salma. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be an African American or an author of color. Maybe the content, the subject, the topic is about a child or someone of that ethnic group. Just no matter what, enjoy yourself and get lost in the story. This week, we're looking at Pretty Salma. And listen, I do not pre-read these books because I want to experience the joy and the surprise along with you. So, Pretty Salma is a story about a Little Red Riding Hood narrative from one of our favorite places, Africa. Yes. And you're going to see different themes of the beloved story. Oh, look at these illustrations. Oh, did I say that this is by Nikki Daly? Yes, and she wrote and made these beautiful illustrations. So, woo, this is going to be exciting. All right, let's dig in. I can tell you that this story is about Salma and her beautiful grandmother and someone who wants to do some tricks. Let's dig in. Salma lived with her granny and grandfather on the quiet side of town. One day her granny said, "Salma, pretty Salma, please go to the market for your old granny who loves you so." Isn't that precious? Salma put on her blue scarf and her stripy natama. Okay, let's just look at this. You see how they just pour all of the affection on Pretty Salma? I love it. And that's how they really are in Africa. Family means everything, and they really celebrate their elders. Woo! Unlike our culture and society where everybody wants to run from being aged and wants to stay forever 21 and forever 30. I can say, especially in the West African tradition and in the villages, they highly esteem the ones who have acquired wisdom and years. Woo! Let's go to that tradition, guys. Well, anyway, Salma had her pretty white beads. Oh, I'm going to have to put this close because the illustrations are so small. And she had her yellow sandals. And she tucked Granny's shopping list in her natama. She lifted Granny's big straw basket onto her head, and she kissed Granny goodbye. Oh, we love it. "Straight there and back again," said Granny. "And don't talk to strangers, you hear?" "Okay, I promise," said Salma. I have so many students where their grandparents are raising them. Oh, respect your grandparents' children. I'm telling you, teenagers, they're treasured gifts. Off went Salma, flip, flop, in her yellow sandals. As she walked, she sang her favorite song. "Oh, Salma, pretty Salma, come kiss Granny, your darling old Granny, who loves you so." Oh, isn't that beautiful? Let's think about, recently my son texted me. He was like, "Oh, Mom, it makes such a difference the type of songs one listens to." And I was like, you think? You know, if you're going to listen to songs that have content that, is negative, don't you think you're going to be swayed that way? I mean, that's like the oldest lesson. Go back to the Psalms and everything. Well, anyway, as the market, she bought a giant watermelon. Isn't that beautiful? a speckled rooster, an ice cold pink drink. Look at that. And a bunch of candy striped straws. Oh, this is beautiful. You can feel that it's hot outside over there. Unlike today, it's very windy. The sun was growing hot, just like I said, and the basket felt very heavy. So Selma decided to take a shortcut home through the wild side of town. Along the way, she sang her favorite song. Remember? These songs are important. Oh, Selma, pretty Selma, come kiss Granny, your darling old Granny, who loves you so. So she doesn't even put the word much after that, but we know that her Granny loves her so. Look. So she took a shortcut. So let's see. When I went to Africa, you saw so many who had the baskets, yes, on their head, and they would carry so much food, and they were able to balance it out. Are you pretty, Selma? Asked a stranger. It was Mr. Dog. He had been listening to her song. Yes. Are you going to Granny's? Asked Mr. Dog. Yes, said Selma. Well, your basket is much too heavy for such a pretty little head, said Mr. Dog. Allow me to carry it for you. Selma did feel a bit dizzy from the heat, right? She did feel that way. So she agreed to let Mr. Dog carry her basket. What do you think happens? In my day, that used to be called Mr. Stranger Danger. Beware, because Mr. Stranger Danger could live down the street, across the street. I'm telling you, he can act like he's being nice. But let's see. After a while, Mr. Dog asked, "What are you wearing on your feet?" "Sandals," replied Miss Pretty Selma. "They must be making your little feet very hot," he said. "Why don't I wear them for you?" So they stopped, and Mr. Dog slipped his big old feet into Selma's sandals. Now look at that. Isn't that foolishness? Oh my goodness. On they went. Floppity flip, flippity flop. After a while, Mr. Dog asked, "What's that wrap you're wearing?" "My Natama," replied Selma. "I bet you feel cooler without it. I'd be happy to wear it for you." No sooner had Mr. Dog wrapped Selma's Natama around himself than he asked for her scarf and pretty beads. "How do I look?" asked Mr. Dog, striking a pose. Foolishness. Come on, Selma. Oh my goodness, what's happening here? Be careful. So let's look at the scenery. Oh, I remember this. This is so beautiful, these illustrations. Mr. Dog strutted along the road in high style. Selma began to miss her things, but when she asked for them back, what do you think happened? Mr. Dog only said, "Some music will help us beat the heat. Won't you teach me a song?" So Selma tried to teach him her favorite song. "Oh, Selma, pretty Selma, come kiss Granny, your darling old Granny, who loves you so." But Mr. Dog was hopeless at singing. All he could do was go woof, woof, woof. "I need a lot more practice," said Mr. Dog. "And until I learn to sing, you won't get your things back." Oh, you see that? How he flipped the script? Oh, look at that. Bad dog. Taking all her stuff. Let's see. Let's look at this picture first. Salma begged. Salma pleaded, Mr. Dog, please give me back my things. Mr. Dog growled, shh, you will never, ever get your things back. Now run away, little girl, before I bite you in two. Oh my goodness. Poor Salma got such a fright when she saw his sharp teeth that she ran and ran and ran. Oh, have you ever felt fearful like that? And she's a little girl. Oh, let's see what happens. Let's look at this. Until she found, now remember she was running, until she found her grandfather dressed in his Anansi costume, telling stories. Oh, so we see her grandfather, right? His head right there. And he's telling stories. So she's running. Let's see what's going to happen. When grandfather heard Salma's story, he said, that's a very exciting story, Salma, but it doesn't sound like a happy ending. How can we save Granny? I know, said Salma. We'll scare Mr. Dog. Exactly how will we scare Mr. Dog? Asked grandfather. Like this, says Salma, putting on the mask of Kaka Motobi, the boogeyman. Ooh, it looked kind of scary there. Salma picked up Anansi's atupan and beat it loudly. Goma, Goma. Grandfather picked up his rattles and gave them a fierce shake. Shuka, shuka. Little Abu Bakr, who loved a good scare, joined in with clapping sticks. Katak, attack. Let's go, cried Salma. Let's go. Oh, it sounded like they had a game plan. They had their costumes. They had their instruments. And then it says, meanwhile. Uh-oh. Is that Grandma? Uh-oh. And does Grandma see Mr. Dog and all her granddaughter's stuff? Okay, let's see. When Granny saw Mr. Dog flip-flopping up the path, she thought it was her pretty Salma. Pretty Salma, come give your Granny, who loves you, a kiss, cried Granny. Mr. Dog leapt up and gave her a sloppy kiss. Ew! Oh, my Salma, said Granny. What a wet nose you have. Ew. Granny took heavy basket from Mr. Dog and said, Salma, pretty Salma, you look hungry. Let's eat. Mr. Dog started to chase the speckled rooster round and round. Oh, my Salma, said Granny. What an appetite you have. Uh-oh. You think Granny knows that Mr. Dog is not her lovely Salma? Let's see. Then Granny says, Salma, pretty Salma, it's time for your bath. Into the bath leaped Mr. Dog. Oh, my Salma, said Granny. What hairy ears you have. Are you sure you are my pretty Salma? Oh, yes, 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 cried Mr. Dog, jumping onto Granny's lap and wagging his tail. Now, Granny was really worried. Did her pretty Salma have a tail? Perhaps this wasn't her pretty Salma after all. Uh-oh. Come on, Granny. And she has glasses on. What's going on here? Well, there was only one way to find out. Let's sing our favorite song, said Granny. And she started to sing. Oh, Salma, pretty Salma, come kiss Granny, your darling old Granny, who loves you so. Woof, 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 barked Mr. Dog. Then Granny knew she had been tricked. Oh, my Granny. What are we going to do here? She reached for her broom. Out! Get out! Mr. Dog. Well, no. She didn't say Mr. Dog. But she said, but Mr. Dog liked being pretty Salma far too much to leave Grandma's house. So instead, he growled and snapped at her. Oh, what's going to happen here? Granny was afraid Mr. Dog would bite her in two. Look at this. So she jumped into her cooking pot. Mr. Dog pushed the lid down. Oh my goodness, Mr. Dog, something else. Nice, he thought. Granny's soup. Granny cried, help, help, help. Oh my goodness. Mr. Dog was terrible. Oh my goodness, it's just cruel. A criminal. Let's read the next page. Just then, let's look at the scene. Just then, the door burst open with a loud, "Gama, gama, shuka, shuka, katak, attack." Oh, look. When Mr. Dog saw Kaka Motobi, the boogeyman, and his gang, he got a terrible fright. That bad dog slipped and tripped over his miserable tail. Yes. Right out of the house. Back to the wild side of town. That's why it's so important to stay in the path that the people who love you, the adults, your parents, stay where you say that you're going to go. Don't take shortcuts. Let them know. Keep in communication with them because they love you. Okay. Salma took off her mask and helped Granny climb out of the pot. Then they all sat down to eat watermelon and sip an ice-cold pink drink through candy-striped straws. Oh, that sounds happy to me. Now let's look at this page. The next day, Granny sent Salma to market to buy new clothes. Salma went straight there and back. That's what I'm talking about. And she never talked to strangers again. Love it. That is so important to do. Don't lie, young people, about where you are. Hold on. Do I have to cough? Hold on. No, I don't. Because it's so important. Because they love you. And there are so many boogeymans. Well, the boogeyman in this case was a good guy. But there are so many Mr. Dogs out here who are just waiting to take your phone, your backpack, your car, anything. So you give that up, give whatever up, but make sure you stay in a place that you say that you're going to be. Don't tell stories and say, oh, I'm here at my friend's house, and you're somewhere else, because they can't protect you. And they love you, no matter where your friends say go. Now let's hear something about the author. She's been writing and illustrating books since 1978, both in South Africa and abroad. As an artist and a teacher, oh my goodness, Nikki is a man. He has made significant contributions to children's literature, and he still lives and works in Cape Town, South Africa. Wonderful. Well, pretty Salma, we're going to remember the people who love us, whether it's our grandparents, maybe they're no longer with us, whoever is in our life, right? Neighbors, auntie, uncle, someone loves you. Let's make sure that we take care of them. We tell them the truth. We live with integrity because they want to protect you and have the very best for you. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Daly, and everyone else. Have a wonderful Saturday.